Happy Sunday and happy Liberty weekend. This is your Everything Vols sports channel. That is the House of Orange coming at you. This is Frank Rock. Thumbs up this thing if you like it. Share it out. Share it out to those who's maybe not found the channel before. And then we are 88 subs away from 2,000. That'd be a big number for this channel. So if you have not subbed and you like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel for further updates. For anything, any live shows, anything like that. We will not be live tomorrow night, Monday night at 7:30. I remembered I actually have things to do. It is a holiday as well. So we're just going to take the week off this week, but hopefully we'll return next Monday night talking about NC State and Tennessee. And that's what I'm going to do right now. Let's get right into this thing. Of course, the Vols yesterday just did absolutely what they wanted to, even so much more than I expected. In their 69-3 victory over Chattanooga. They put the icing on the cake with the Jordan Ross block punt at the end, but just just a wow effort for me. I mean, the one thing was, of course, the 2-minute offense, which everybody's hit on at that point, myself, other sites as well. But that's really the one thing that you take from yesterday. Josh Heupel, that's the one thing he talked about. Of course, he says they're going to have things to work on. And I'm sure they will when they watch the film and stuff as well. But this week's going to be a different test with NC State ranked 24th this past week. I'll be curious to see if they're still ranked coming into next week. Of course, they beat Western Carolina 38-21, but that was a game they got away from late. I was looking around for just, previews of NC State. I've looked for articles on NC State. Of course, I've looked already kind of their top players where Tennessee may have advantages with them. But Michael Clark of Pack Pride 247, he had a day after article, kind of like my next day. Brent Hubbs does the day after on VolQuest. He had an article talking about it. And I was curious his tone. And, of course, the Observer in Raleigh had an article talking about it as well. I was curious to see the NC State writers' perspective on it. Was it a case of they weren't that worried about it? Maybe it was just getting the rust out, or was it something they were more concerned about long term? Clark of 247 Pack Pride, he said that one of the questions coming into the season was NC State's offensive line. Everything I'd read on it said NC State returned 4 starters, plus they got Correll from Notre Dame, interior offensive lineman as well. In that game, reading about it, through 3 quarters, NC State had 23 carries for 79 yards. Western Carolina had a couple sacks. Grayson McCall was not. He was 26 out of 40 on the night. He's a career right at 70% passer. Those numbers aren't bad. I mean, he still had over 300 yards. He had an interception along the way. But the fact that they talked about, they said NC State with the running game kind of took over a bit in the fourth quarter. But they talked about having trouble with Western Carolina's defensive line throughout the night, and they outweighed them by a good bit. If you want your big advantage for Tennessee, there it is. There it is. You don't want to be undermanned, or you don't want that to be an issue against Tennessee's defensive line. They were dominant yesterday against Chattanooga. Did not give up much at all. Rotated so many guys. They only had the 1 sack, but Chattanooga went quick. It was a quick offense. Now, I did not watch NC State to see the speed that they go on it. I do know that if Western Carolina's getting that type of pressure, what is Tennessee going to do? NC State's main lineman's Anthony Belton. He's the left tackle. Okay? Well, where's James Pierce play? Left end. He's on the opposite end of it. If your right tackle's a concern and you're kind of not in a big hurry to get it out, James Pierce, some of these other guys, they're going to wreak havoc on Saturday night. Reading about it as well, Fordham, NC State's top linebacker, he was ejected against Western Carolina. So what does that mean? Is he suspended for part of the game? I'll be curious to see on that, because I'll be honest, I can't keep up with this crap when guys get ejected, whether they're suspended or, if they serve, because it was evidently early in the game. But Michael Clark, Pack Pride, again, referring back to him, he said NC State's front six is a concern. The linebacker said it was a drop-off when Fordham went out. Now, I expect Fordham will play, obviously, Saturday night, but is he out for a portion of time? Said there was a drop-off to the other linebackers that come in for him. So they had 3 tackles for a while, and they made numerous mistakes on that end as well. Apparently, NC State was not getting the pressure that they thought as well. Look at the stats from the other night. West Carolina rushed for 120 yards on the night. They threw for 241. They had 361 yards of offense. That's not a good recipe for success for NC State coming against Tennessee. Now, could it be a case it was night one jitters, rust? Maybe they weren't totally focused. I mean, it could be. All right. Yeah, I mean, who knows on that one? But to me, a big concern seemed to be both lines of scrimmage. Tennessee, on the other hand, on both lines of scrimmage, pretty solid. And I expect, they rotated a lot of guys yesterday. I would imagine there'll be some guys trimmed out of it on Saturday night. Your defensive line, I think you continue to play a lot of guys. That's solid depth. On the offensive line, I don't expect as many guys to play this week. I'll be curious to see how they grade it out and how they move with it going forward. But, I know Larry Johnson at left tackle about got Nico killed once. So do they experiment with putting him in? I would venture to say Dane Davis goes in if needed. Maybe even John Campbell switches over to take Hurd's spot if needed. But I don't know how much they've been, kind of cross-training them, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term on that. NC State is supposed to have a good secondary. They'll be tested on Saturday night, especially if Nico has time. And here's the thing about it that I liked yesterday for Tennessee. Nico had 4 carries for 6 yards. He didn't have to do much. One of the rushes was because he fumbled the snap. He was not, he got flushed a couple times out of the pocket, but I would expect to see him, especially if NC State over pursues, he'll take off and get some yards Saturday night. I fully expect this to be Nico Iamaleava announcing his presence to America, that he is real deal. I fully expect that to happen on Saturday night. For me, if Western Carolina's getting 120, again, will NC State be more fired up for this game? Absolutely. They will. I don't know that the players will care. Dave Doring will, because he was supposedly ready to become Tennessee's coach after the Schiano debacle. Then it was supposed to go be Doring, and Tennessee fans didn't want him. He'll be fired up for this one. Make no mistake about it. NC State will be fired up for this one as well, because their own people are worried about them. But will Tennessee be able to do to NC State what they did to Chattanooga? I don't fully expect that. It's definitely going to be a step up in quality. NC State does have some solid guys on their defensive line. They have, Fordham is their solid main linebacker, but linebacker was one of the concerns outside of Fordham. Like I said, good corner, Aiden White. They have supposedly a pretty solid defensive backfield. We heard the same thing back in, 2012, 2013, when Tyler Bray, Cordero Patterson, Justin Hunter, and those guys went down and torched them in Atlanta. That was when David Amerson was supposed to be his lockdown guy, and they burned him numerous times. Zach Rogers got behind him too. Tennessee speed, Tennessee size, how does it come into play with those receivers? I loved what I saw yesterday. I loved that they used the middle of the field. I loved that they were able to get deep. I'm just telling you guys, I think that Tennessee's a much better team. They're a much better team coming into this one. And I think NC State's a decent team. I don't think they're on Tennessee's level. I really don't. And especially if NC State was pushing Western Carolina around finally in the fourth quarter, they're not going to have that luxury on Saturday night, because this is arguably probably the deepest line in college football. Tennessee's is. And we're seeing, not only is James Pierce a man, Tyree West, he was highly recruited. That was a big victory coming in. Omari Thomas, Caleb Herring played a lot and showed out. Joshua Josephs with the fumble recovery. There is so much depth. There's so many guys, I cannot name them all on that line. They have depth for days, though, to play. They will be fresh in that fourth quarter. And here's the thing. I think NC State could have a potential advantage with Grayson McCall. They have a great player in Concepcion. He's one of the best players in college football. Make no mistake about it. You're going to have to cover him. Who's going to be tasked with that? They have Jolly, the tight end who transferred from UConn. A lot of Tennessee people wanted him. We saw him last year. Noah Rogers transferred from Ohio State. There's weapons on that offense. Their running back that they had or have as well transferred in from Duke, was all ACC last year. Jordan Waters, he had 136 in the opener. He got a lot of that late. How does Tennessee defend that? If North Carolina State cannot get the running game going, Grayson McCall is going to have a long night. And, here's the thing I didn't realize on him. He apparently had a pretty significant concussion last year, and he's coming back off of it. He's been a heck of a quarterback at Coastal Carolina. This is a step up in competition for him this week against Tennessee. Special teams, when it comes down to it, we'll see how it is. Tennessee I thought they were excellent in special teams. I expect nothing less this week. Mike Eckler loves to coach special teams. He takes pride in it. His players take that pride in it as well. The big question is going to be Tennessee's secondary. Okay, they did get tested a lot yesterday. They were pretty solid yesterday as well. A couple guys got past them or got behind them, underthrown balls. They were able to make plays. What's going to happen with NC State? If Tennessee cannot get pressure on McCall, the secondary is going to get tested. If they do, which I expect that they will, McCall's going to have a rough day on Saturday. Nico, again, I expect Nico shows America why all the hype is real on Saturday. With all that said, I expect Tennessee's offense to roll. I expect in the fourth quarter they'll be able to run it out. This might surprise you guys where I'm going with this one. Tennessee did open today as a 6-point favorite. Is that accurate? Is it too high? Is it too low? We'll see. My prediction, Saturday night, Frank Rock will be there in attendance. Charlotte, North Carolina, 7:30. ABC. Tennessee rolls 45. NC State, 17. Blowout city in the Queen City. Check out the content the next day that I put out today. Put out my post-game yesterday. I'll have content throughout the week. I'm going to try to amp my content up. Again, tomorrow night, no live show. As it's just not going to work out this week. And we debated doing it Thursday night, but we're just going to cancel for this week. We'll do it again next Monday. I'm going to leave you on that one. I hope you guys have a great long weekend. This Labor Day weekend. Enjoy it. Enjoy your time off if you're able to get that. If not, hope you have a great day tomorrow as well. Frank Rock, House of Orange Sports Channel. Football season's here, man, and it's awesome. What a great start to the season. I'm expecting an even greater continuation next week. Have a good long weekend. I'll see you when I see you. And last but most certainly not least, go Vols.